Good morning, our esteemed viewers. You're welcome to KAFTAN TV, and we're here to discuss the press. We're looking at our national dailies. I will be looking at the various conversations that for one reason or the other generate conversations across the country. These stories are issues that concern you and I, and of course we'll be looking at why it does concern us and how it does affect us and the way forward in this story. My name is Osaretin, Osadebamwen, and we shall look first at the weather report before we go through the headlines. Now on the weather report, we are going to start looking at Edo State, which gives us a high of 31, and then we'll have a low of 23. And there is, of course, some level of sunshine in the day. From there, we shall be proceeding to the next, which is Delta State. And in Delta State, we're going to experience, the Delta State residents are going to experience a 23 degree low with a high of 31. And then, of course, it's going to be sunny at some point, but again, cloudy is setting because the reports say it will be mostly cloudy. We proceed from there again to look at the wonderful state of Port Harcourt. And there in Port Harcourt, in Rivers, there will be, though the weather will be partly cloudy by the records, but sunshine is guaranteed with a low of 22 and a high of 30. We also proceed on our weather reports to a state like Bayelsa. Bayelsa, of course, is also not so much different from the other parts of the south-south area. It is going to be sunny, but with a low of 22 and also a high of 31. That is a weather report for Bayelsa, and our next port of call will be Enugu State. And in Enugu State, we are certainly having a high of 30, while the low is going to be 22 degrees centigrade. But it is mostly a cloudy forecast for the people of Enugu, so you know how to prepare yourself for the day. And then Imo, a beautiful state. Imo State has its own record, which is also not much different from the others. It's going to be experiencing a low of 22 and a high of 31, with much of a cloudy weather condition. But again, the partial place of 30, partial place of sunny, what they call report. We proceed also to Lagos. Lagos, the commercial capital. We also have, in Lagos, the weather is slightly different. There we are seeing a low of 24. And although it will be cloudy, but there's a low of 24 and a high of 30 with a plea of sunshine for the people of Lagos. And right here in our own city, Abuja, the federal capital, we're going to experience a low of 22 with a high of 31. And then we're certainly going to experience a lot of sunshine. And that is a beautiful one for those of us here. Then from Abuja, we proceed to not too distant state, which is Kaduna. Kaduna is talking about a low of 20 and a high of 31 with a very good plea of sunshine for the people of the state. Kano, the commercial capital of the northern region, is also proudly running not far from Kaduna too, with a low of 20 and a high of 34, with so much of sunshine for the people to enjoy themselves. And not far from that is the beautiful city of Jos and Plateau. It has it will be as low, will be the lowest degree centigrade is 18, and then with what's it called, a high of 28, having a mix of sunshine and what do you call it in the state. Perhaps we have just done this now. We are done with the weather report, and so we shall proceed to our headlines. And the headlines, of course, we'll be looking through them today so that you can now see what the papers are saying from what has played out across the country. Let me start with what they call it, the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper tells the major story here is Inec Chair Amupitan will confront polls and logistic crisis. That is a very bold promise that he is making to Nigerians. Will confront poll logistic challenges. We have, after that, the other story there is talking about the economy in Nigeria will surpass IMF's 3.7 growth forecast, say experts. As inflation drops, reflection of reforms, stock market gains 389 billion naira. That is for those who have very deep interest in the economy. You can look at that if you pick the Nation for today. We have another interesting story there at the masthead. Above the masthead, you have the enemy saying Kanu's ailment is not life-threatening, and that is also another issue of interest. Then you have the Senate. The Senate has stepped down Electoral Act for wider consultation. Of course, the confirmation of the screening, on confirmation of the Inec chairman yesterday is, of course, the story is, of course, of close interest to the Senate stepping down Electoral Act, because these are connected. The chairman has promised very bold assurances, but again, we shall be looking at the Electoral Act, the reformation, the amendment that will be necessary for the rights changes that will make Nigerians have more confidence in the electoral system. So these are the stories on the front page. But again, another story of interest is the NBA police to jointly review tinted glass permit. That is there. Then the presidential clemency list still under review by the AGF. That is, of course, a story that has come up with so much controversy across the country. So let us look at the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune also had Amupitan making a very bold statement there. My agenda for Inec, Amupitan. What are these agenda for Inec? As the Senate confirms his nomination, he says he's going to have improvement on the logistics, Electoral Offences Commission imperative. According to him, he spoke on beavers and the IRF, and he considered drones for logistics. That of course, is bold and assuring to the Nigerian population, where we have some of the senators asking about what he would do to address the issue of voters' apathy. Then, of course, tied to it again, we have this same story coming up again about the presidential prerogative of mercy at review stage, not final. That's according to the AGF. That would be an interesting one to look at. Then, another one of interest. It is the River State Council's 134 billion secretarial reconstruction contract awarded by IBAS. Fubara has begun to work. It appears to the people of River State, who have been lamenting that a lot of their money cannot be properly considered to be accounted for by the Solat during the period he was there. They're looking still at the front page of the Tribune. We see PDP unshaken by defection, ready for landmark convention in Ibadan. That is the Adamawa State Governor giving the PDP PDP members that level of assurance that they are going to have a good outing in Ibadan. From Tribune, we move to the Guardian. We move to the Guardian from Tribune. On the Guardian, we have the lead story saying how praise singers override party agenda, scorecards at rallies. How praise singers override party agenda, scorecards at rallies. Now we also have in boxes just below the masthead, the NBA talking about the tinted, the review of the tinted permit policy. It reads NBA Speedel police agree to review tinted permit policy. The second boss talking about Obi Wiki trade words over 2027 presidency capacity to lead. We also have the statement by the aviation by Senator Kalu and the aviation experts who are reacting to it, and the reaction is say they kick as Kalu accuses pilots of smoking marijuana. So that is another story of interest. But let's look there. We see the Kanu story. The Kanu story is still coming up here on The Guardian. The enemy says Kanu fit for trial as Ohanaeze Ndigbo advocate dialogue. The political story here that talks about the defection. Say defection, legal disputes rocks PDP as APC governor project strength unity in Kebbi. So these for those of you who will be looking at The Guardian, this is what The Guardian is saying this morning. We shall proceed to the Daily Independent newspaper. Daily Independent newspaper is also focusing with its lead. The banner headline reading, new Inec boss vows to restore Nigerian trust in the commission. New Inec boss vows to restore Nigerians' trust in the commission. Then, of course, the South-South paper is also looking at another issue of interest in the South-South region. Oil output slumps to 7 months low as strikes others disrupt production. Oil output slumps to 7 months low as strikes others disrupt production. At the top also is a controversial exercise of the prerogative of mercy. The story says Tinubu's pardon for convicted criminals under review, AGF. Tinubu pardon for convicted criminals under review. That is the AGF saying that. Over there on the amendment bill, the Electoral Act amendment, the Daily Independent is saying Senate leadership in disarray over electoral amendment. So you want to get to know the details, pick the Daily Independent and get the story from there. We have the Daily Trust. Let's look at Daily Trust also. The Daily Trust is saying decision on clemency not final. That is its lead. The decision on clemency not final. That is an interesting read. After the release, the statement which talk about the president granting pardon to over 170 persons, and then now the AGF is saying no, let's hold it. Decision on clemency is not final, given the controversy that it generated. Now, the second lead story there says Senate confirms Amupitan as chairman of Inec. Senate confirms Amupitan as Inec chairman. Atop, below, just below the mass in 3 boxes, you have troops arrest wounded bandits, destroy camps in Kogi. Troops arrest wounded bandits, destroy camps in Kogi. Then with the story about the Hajj for Muslim brothers, this will be an interesting story to look at, and the chances that they will be having it. 2026 Hajj, Saudi Arabia slashes Nigerian slot to 66,910. And then you now go on to talk about the PDP, say why our governors are defecting. That details of that story will be in the Daily Trust. Then let's look at the blueprints. blueprint. The blueprint is saying election under me will be credible. Amupitan. That is a lead story. Say election under me will be credible. Amupitan assures Nigerians. Of course, Nigerians will be waiting to see that. And then again, the controversial story, which is amnesty for 175 ex-convicts still under review. That is making a round coming from the office of the AGF. Let's go to the Vanguard. The Vanguard. Vanguard, the lead story is the same story on Amupitan, the new Inec chairman. It says, in my time, losers will congratulate winners. We look forward to that time. In my time, losers will congratulate winners. Gets said confirmation as Inec chairman. We have other riders there. Promises to work with NIMC, NIMC, NCC, others to improve polls. You know that these are the various identity institutions of the nation. So they will be very contributory to the data of INEC. I will audit IRF to identify glitches that undermine the 2023 elections. Says he was never in Tinubu's election legal team. That was a story that actually went very wild, but again, it has been dispelled. Electoral Act amendment suffers setback. So that is what the Vanguard is saying on the INEC chairman. It has also above the masthead the story on the presidential pardon, but this time it is the Macaulay family that are angry. They say Macaulay shouldn't have been lumped with ex-convicts. His pardon, according to them, shouldn't have been lumped with ex-convicts, given his nationalistic disposition, many of which have been shared in the history platforms. And we go down again, we have users talking about NCC, the second lead story. It says, users' rapid data depletion threatens telecom sector growth. Users' rapid data depletion threatens telecom sector growth. You can get more of this detail from the Vanguard. We have Daily Times. Proceed to Daily Times. Daily Times is saying Amupitan'S appointment confirmed, denies appearing for Tinubu at Presidential Tribunal. Amupitan'S appointment confirmed, denies appearing for Tinubu at Presidential Tribunal. Up above the masthead, we have the story on the clemency under review. It says presidential clemency under review. No image release yet, says AGF. No image release yet, says AGF. And down you have other pockets of story talking about group demands, government action as hunger, malnutrition persist in Nigeria. That's a very good story to look at. Then there is the reps probe mismanagement of oil spill cleanup funds in Niger Delta. Then the other one is about the aviation industry. The NCA says Orji Kalu's claim on pilot using Indian help misleading. It is misleading according to the NCAA. Then we have a global, a global economy shows resilience despite rising uncertainty, says IMF. Let's move now to Liberty newspaper. Liberty is talking about the Sultan of Sokoto calling for social media regulation, says it's threat to national peace. Sultan of Sokoto calls for social media regulation, says it's threat to national peace. Then, of course, the major story that has moved from one paper to the other, which has been reported by most of the national dailies, we can see the presidential pardon, no inmate has been released yet. No inmate has been released yet. And there's this other story interesting about the education sector. It says FG's jam as FG scraps JAMB as requirement for tertiary admission. That, of course, will be a very interesting read for Nigerians. And down here is we have the story of the Senate confirmation of the Inec chairman and others in comprehensive audit. We shall be looking at the matrix. The matrix in its own report is saying Inec chairman, Senate clears Amupitan. And then it goes on to say, I was never part of Tinubu's